Welcome back into the Motor Index, folks. And we have our second back to back winner of the NASCAR Cup Series season, that being Denny Hamlin, getting his 56th career Cup Series win at Darlington, a place where we kind of expected him to be in the mix, especially coming after that win last week at Martinsville. Kind of crazy. It was 10 years he hadn't won at Martinsville. I don't know the exact number on Darlington, but we all know Denny is one of the guys to beat every single time they go to Darlington, no matter what. I said in my preview last week that I kind of thought Denny was going to be in the mix, and that last week's result gave me a lot of optimism heading into here. But he was not the car to beat today, or I guess today's Tuesday, but on Sunday he was not the car to beat at all. It was William Byron, and it was the William Byron show for a lot of that race. Says he led, I believe, 243 laps. So heartbreaker. It is a heartbreaker for William Byron, but this was, to be honest, I mean, this race was very boring. It was very boring until that final stage when things got really spicy. William Byron nearly drove a perfect race. What would like I was listening to the teardown with Gluck and Bianchi, and they were talking about how first time this would have been the first time since 2000 when Jeb Burton did it that a driver has led the entire race. Which, when you just kind of think about that in terms of like perfect games in baseball or stuff like that is way more impressive and rare than something like a perfect game in baseball, which is crazy to think about. And the fact that we got so close to it was pretty nuts. I mean, William Byron did not relinquish the lead until that final green flag pit cycle. And yeah, I think that's kind of the trap you get stuck in as the driver who wins the first two stages and you're the dominant car at Darlington. It didn't necessarily play out exactly how it played out here for Kyle Larson back in the fall, but it was kind of similar, where Kyle Larson absolutely dominant those first 2/3, if not maybe 70% of the race, and then something out of nowhere happens, ends up with him getting passed for the lead in that race. Ends up becoming a battle between two different cars who weren't really the top dogs on the day. Something similar kind of played out here, not directly. It wasn't a one-for-one comparison, but it was in that ballpark for sure. How, William Byron's leading on that green flag cycle. You see Reddick and Blaney come in early, and then William Byron kind of gets caught trying to run long and then loses, I think it was 4 spots on pit road. He does end up when that caution came out. Well, we'll get to why that caution came out in a second, but for the overtime restart, he did make his way up to restart. I believe it was either second or third. So he was able to recover from it and have a shot at winning in overtime, but still hate that for William Byron, especially just dominating all day. But yeah, so this ended up becoming a battle between Tyler Reddick and Ryan Blaney there at the end, or what should have been the end, with only, I think it was 4 laps to go. Blaney runs the longest and pits at the end of that green flag cycle, giving him the best tires for the end of that race, and he ends up making up time, lining up, knocking him down, and then he finally gets to Reddick, makes a pass on Reddick, and then what do we know? Right behind him, you get Bubba Wallace getting into Kyle Larson, spins him out, caution comes out, they come down pit road. I think Blaney went from 1st to 4th on that stop. Denny went from, I think, 3rd to 1st. So it was crazy stuff going on. But yeah, besides the point, all in all, this was a pretty boring race, all things considered. But that last little stop, or last little half of the final stage did make up for a lot of it and made it pretty compelling. So I guess let's just get into some other finishers on the day. Christopher Bell, 3rd place. Great result for him. Kind of what I figured he was on the day. I didn't think he had a winning race car, but certainly a top 5 car for sure. And then also we mentioned Tyler Reddick, who definitely had a shot to win this race, but was on the wrong end of the strategy before that caution came out. So, or not the wrong end, but compared to Ryan Blaney, he was on the wrong end of the strategy. So, is what it is there. Chris Buescher, another solid run at Darlington. I think Chris Buescher's going to get a win eventually. I think he's just running too solid. Um, I obviously RFK has not had the premium speed that you would like to see, even though Ryan Preece has been on a pretty good tear as of late. But yeah, I really like what I've seen out of Chris Buescher recently, and would like to see maybe at Kansas. Obviously, we saw what happened there last year with him. But yeah, Chris Buescher is certainly one to keep a watch of in the next couple weeks. Ross Chastain in the top 10. Pretty uneventful day, but more of the same from what we would expect from him at Darlington. Not too shocked to see him in the top 10. Chase Elliott, I don't really remember exactly how his day played out. He was in that ugly throwback scheme. I mean, it would have been good if they did a good job with that throwback scheme, but it was not very good. But it is what it is. How about Ty Gibbs? First top 10 of the season. Would like to see some more of these come Ty Gibbs' way. Build up some momentum, because as far as the points are concerned, he's not going to be able to point his way in. I mean, yes, mathematically it's still possible, but if we're being honest here with the speed he's shown, he's going to need a win. I don't know where it's going to come, but certainly heading in the right direction, you'd like to think, for Ty Gibbs with a 9th place finish. Kyle Busch, 10th place, back in the top 10 for Kyle Busch. I'd have to go back and look at what he's done the past few weeks. I'm kind of forgetting. I know it hasn't been his best the past couple weeks, but good to see Kyle Busch there in the top 10. And then just behind him, Austin Cindric. Man, Austin Cindric is not buying any friends on the racetrack. I think it was a point where he's getting into it with Kyle Busch at one point, if I'm not mistaken. But there was several times, because this has been a common criticism of Austin Cindric, has been his aggressive driving as of late, and it was on display again at Darlington. Anyways, let's move on to some of these other contenders. Anybody else notable? I thought Bubba Wallace in 21st, I thought had a much better car. I thought he had a top 5 or 5 to 7 car on the day. Finishes 21st, so that's kind of unfortunate for him, but does come away with what appears to be a pretty good points day. Yeah, with 25 points. For a 21st place finish, that's pretty good. So I don't know where he's at in the standings, but kind of salvage something out of nothing day there for Bubba. Keep stacking points for him. That's the name of the game for him. So anybody else notable? Chase Briscoe finishing 28th, not great. I thought he was going to run a lot better. Those Gibbs cars as a whole got into some really interesting and peculiar situations there early in the race, but as far as the other three, they were able to claw their way back in the top 10. It appears Briscoe was not able to do so. So I guess we'll just finish this off having Kyle Larson. That's the one we really got to tackle here before we get out of here. Wrecks twice, 5 laps into the race, and then with 4 laps to go. While that throwback scheme, as awesome as it was, didn't get the prominence and hype that it deserved, at least as far as the racing was concerned, it sure found a way to make an impact on the race. So unfortunate result there for Larson, but I guess we will have that memory imprinted of the car wrecking to bring out overtime when we do think back about this race. But yeah, no, like I kind of said, as far as this race is concerned, wishy-washy, could take it or leave it. Wasn't the greatest race. I'd like to see something a little more entertaining. I don't know exactly what that would be. Maybe not having a driver lead the first 243 laps of the race. That would have been nice. Maybe some more parity, but besides the point, I'm not too mad about it. I think one of the best cars certainly won today. Maybe not the best, but that's racing. The best car isn't going to win every week, but Denny Hamlin, like he says, you put yourself in position to win. 30% of your competition in front of you is going to take themselves out of the mix. So that's what Denny did. He was able to put himself in the right position to win, and he took advantage of it. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for my coverage heading into Bristol this next weekend. Thank you all. God bless.